This is best experienced on desktop. So for anyone who is on mobile, we hear you. We would love to have a mobile app down the line. We're not there yet, so desktop first. But the goal here is really to have one place for you to manage your entire job search end to end. I'd love to hear in the chat, maybe if people are currently tracking and managing your job search, like what tools are you using? Are you using a Google spreadsheet? Are you using Trello, Notion? Would love to just learn a little more about if folks are tracking their job search. No judgment. So feel free to let us know. The goal here is you will fill all of these out to complete your profile. And then Excel, yeah, we're hearing a lot of Excel, a lot of Google Sheets. I was in the same boat. I made one myself when I was job searching, and in hindsight, I wish I'd known about Teal. So you can set up your career goals right in here so that, let's say we are, for the sake of today's demo, let's say we're going after a marketing manager position. So we'll type in our target title as marketing manager, and then you can set a goal for when you would ideally like to start your new job. I wish I could put, tomorrow, but I also want to be realistic about the job search. So let's put November 1st just for now. And let's say I'm only going to look at roles that have a base of $80,000. And then why have a max? Why cap myself? Let's not do that. So as you complete your profile, you'll start to see your career goals up here. And then as you apply to jobs, we'll show that in a second, as you go through saving and tracking your jobs, you can see the status of all of your applications over time so that you can break down sort of how many are in each stage. And then here you can edit the number of job applications you would like to send each week. So you can adjust this as needed, and you'll have sort of a little progress bar to help keep you on track. Because we like to say what gets measured gets managed. Leah, do you have any thoughts on why it's so important to stay organized in your job search?
Absolutely. So I can remember from my own recent job search when I got laid off back in April, I was mass applying to jobs like crazy. And then I'd get an email saying, hi, we'd like to invite you to this interview. And I had no idea what job it was. I was trying to frantically look back on LinkedIn for the job posting, couldn't find it, trying to find it on the company website. It's no longer there. So I'm basically going into an interview blind. So this really helps kind of streamline and break down every single job that you apply for. You can reference it, you can organize it and track, and you can also track, I've applied to 500 roles and only 10 have reached out for an interview. So kind of getting your own analytics for your job search is kind of streamlined here.
Well said. That was exactly like spot on. And the way that we have that functionality right now is through the job tracker. So over here on the left-hand side, you'll see the various tools that Teal offers. The job tracker is sort of how we started as a company and where our product started. So here you can see it has sort of the same columns that you would find in an Excel sheet or that you could create by yourself in Notion, but it's all just pre-made for you. So you have the job title, the company, the salary, location, status, the date you saved the role, the date you applied, your follow-up, and then you can rate how excited you are about the job. So one of the first things that we recommend doing when you're job searching is starting in this research phase. I think a lot of people will start with this pressure to like update their resume, have their resume perfect, spend countless hours like just getting your resume ready so that when the time comes, you're ready to apply. And our philosophy at Teal is more start with the jobs that you're interested in and the job descriptions that sound appealing to you, and then work your way backwards and create your resume based on that job description. So you're not just showing everything you've ever done, but you're presenting a really focused, clear narrative about who you are and what you're looking for. So in the research stage, let's see, we are going to go to LinkedIn, and let's say we are looking for a marketing manager role. Oops. One of the things we love to do in research mode is, not all states require salary transparency. If you want to know the salary range for a role and it's not a requirement, that can be really frustrating. I like to use Denver as starting place, just because Colorado does require salary transparency. It's not always perfect, but sorry, let me get some of these out of the way. It's not always perfect, but it can be a helpful starting point. So the other thing I'm going to do, as I just talked about how Denver is so great about salary transparency and then they don't have compensation listed, I'm going to try putting quotes around my search term to try to narrow it down a little bit. Leah, you are way better at explaining Boolean search than I. Do you want to talk a little bit about what this does?
Yeah, so simplified terms, everything posted on LinkedIn is searchable and keyword optimized. So you may see posts all over LinkedIn saying you need to be keyword optimized. What that means is if I'm putting in my search bar marketing manager without quotations, it's going to pull anything with the term marketing and manager in the job description or in the title. So you'll see things like product marketing manager, manager affiliate display, like through this search right here, SEO manager. Those aren't necessarily marketing manager. Club membership manager at Bass Pro Shop. So that's a little bit more of a vague overview of a search term. When you're putting in quotation marks, you're telling the search query, I want marketing manager as the title. So a big suggestion when you're searching for job titles is start getting as specific as possible and then open up your net to find other job titles. At larger companies, they have maybe more specific job titles. At smaller startups, they may kind of flex their job title. A marketing director at a startup is going to be a completely different leveling than a marketing manager or marketing director at like a big FANG tech company. So test and learn openly about what is going to be the right job for you and look up different job titles within your search query, but highly recommend starting with quotation marks, getting specific. And also you can use the and or function. If I'm looking for a marketing manager and a marketing director or a marketing director, it's going to help showcase any title that is marketing manager and a marketing director or marketing manager and or a marketing director. So try to like optimize your Boolean search results as best as possible within LinkedIn search. And you can also do that within Google. You can do that in Indeed and other websites. We have a couple of videos on how to utilize Boolean search. So we'll definitely drop that into the links as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I was just going to say that we have a couple of YouTube videos on this too in terms of search parameters. And then one tip that Dave really likes that I forgot about, but excuse my messy bookmarks bar. In theory, what you could do is you could just drag this to your bookmarks bar and save it here so that you have the search just ready to go, or you could create a folder with all the searches for the various roles. And then every day when you come in, you just click this button and it'll update the search results for you. And that way you don't necessarily need to go about, re-entering the terms into LinkedIn every time. Super. So let's just take a look. You will be prompted to install the Teal Chrome extension for free when you sign up for Teal. I'm skipping the part where we take you to the Chrome store, we install it, et cetera, but just look for this little duck symbol. You can move it around. This works on LinkedIn. It also works on 40 plus other job boards like Indeed, ZipRecruiter. We have a full list of all of the job boards it works on. And when you pop it open, we actually just redesigned this a few weeks ago. So you're seeing the new version. I want to make sure actually that I think I'm still logged into my extension as me. I'm so sorry. Let me log into the extension as someone who's not me with my new account that I just made. You know what? This is still logging me in. Okay, I may do stop the screen share for just 1 second to make sure I get this sorted. It's showing me the Teal Plus version of the extension, and I just want to make sure that I'm not showing anything that is not included in the free version of Teal. It, for some reason, is being a little glitchy for me today. So in the interest of time, I am going to show the Teal Plus version just so that I'm not taking up too much of y'all's time with trying to get this to work, but I'll walk through what's included with Teal and what's included with Teal Plus. So you will see the compensation range in the extension, regardless of whether or not you're on the free plan. If you need to edit it, you can. You can now update the currency, so it works with more than just US dollars. And if you were to change the pay period, let's say you're looking for something that's a monthly salary versus yearly, so you can go ahead and update that as needed. You can rank your excitement level. And then for the stage, we actually got a lot of member feedback that sometimes you see a job on LinkedIn or elsewhere and you're like, oh, I actually already applied for that. I don't want to save it to my job tracker as bookmarked. I want to save it as I already applied. So you can now do that right within Teal here. And then with the free version of Teal, you do get these top 5 hard skills. And then with Teal Plus, you'll get additional keyword insights. So, oh, here we go. Now it's working. So you'll get this that prompts you to upgrade to Teal Plus in order to see more keywords. And then you do get a couple of additional keywords with Teal Plus, or excuse me, with the free version of Teal in the main view. And then in the notes section, you can add any notes you need. You might say like, reach out, oh wow, typing, reach out to John, he works here, and save the job. And then it'll be saved to your job tracker. And then when you head over to your job tracker, the role will show up here. So I'm going to just go ahead. One of the things we also like to suggest is batch tasks so that you're not consistently toggling back and forth and doing one job at a time, adding it to your tracker, writing your resume, writing your cover letter. This sort of lets you do it in bulk to speed things up. So we like to think of it as sort of window shopping, if you will, adding things to your job tracker that seem like they're of interest, whether or not you actually are going to end up applying. You can always cross that bridge later. So let's just find a few more that we'll add. And then from there, Leah will walk through, or we will walk through together with expertise from Leah on how we would actually go about tailoring a resume to one of these jobs or these positions that we're applying for. Okay, let's save this one. And let's save one product marketing manager one. Okay, super.
One thing to also mention when you're batching saving jobs, especially into the job tracker, is let's say I wanted to do B2B SaaS marketing manager positions. So if I save all of those and then work on tailoring and creating a resume specifically to B2B or SaaS positions, you can create one, kind of tailorized resume and then apply that to multiple roles rather than having to create one individual resume for every role. So that's why we really recommend batching all the jobs you want to apply for first, rather than, like Leah said, add it to your tracker, tailor your resume, and then move on to the next after you apply. It just takes up so much time. So this definitely saves a bit of time, and you're also able to analyze all the jobs right next to each other and in one location, and see what's the difference between all the jobs you're applying for. If there's really not much difference, then you really don't need to have this super customized, tailored resume, and you can kind of make deductions from the job description itself, what you need to highlight and what not.
Great distinction. It's also helpful to see things like once you've added a bunch, if you're like not quite sure what to prioritize first, it can be helpful to just sort this by level of excitement. So you're starting with the ones that you're most excited about, or you might see patterns for yourself. You might say, oh, actually, wait, I didn't realize this role was on site. I don't want to be on site. I want remote only. I'm just going to completely delete that from my sphere. I don't want it. So then once you have a job in your job tracker, let's just use this product marketing manager role at Boeing. You have the job description here, and you can then kind of work through every bit of guidance that you need in order to take this from, okay, this is saved and I'm interested in it, to I'm going to apply and submit a really quality application. So at each stage here, you'll see this little light bulb is guidance mode. There'll be tips in here of what to look out for. And then as you move it through each of the stages, these tips will change. So it'll guide you through, check and see if you know anyone at Boeing on LinkedIn. So it'll bring you to the profiles of the people you're connected with on LinkedIn. And then let's say you do see someone, I'm just going to use Olivia Hooper here. Let's say she works at Boeing. It looks like that was just caught because it was in her past work history. You can pull back open your Teal extension and you can save her. She was a former coworker, and I might want to do an informational interview with her. I need to contact her. I'm going to follow up later this week. Save contact. And then from there, she'll be in my Teal contacts tracker. So what I could theoretically do is take a look at all of her information. It pulls in her profile information from LinkedIn so I can have everything I need all in one place. And then we could link it to the job at Boeing. Product marketing manager. There we go. Okay, so now when we're back in the job tracker, we can see who we know at the company. So it's all a little more streamlined. Then let's say you wanted to reach out to her to say hello, ask for, a networking meeting. We have some email templates that are built in. The free version of Teal has one template for each stage of the job search, and then Teal Plus has a bunch more templates for you to choose from. Leah, you have had some like nightmare stories of people sending terrible intro messages lately. Any any recommendations of what not to do if you're reaching out to someone on LinkedIn?
So the best advice I could give anyone, whether you're actively job searching or thinking about switching up careers, is be intentional with your words. So if you're going to reach out to a recruiter saying, "Hi, I'd like a job," is very generic and vague, and likely you won't get a response from a recruiter because it takes up so much time to go through the back and forth. So my best advice, if you want to reach out to someone, whether or not you know if they're the right person, is reach out with intention. So if you see a role is open at Boeing, you want to reach out to the recruiter, go ahead, apply. If you've got a tailorized resume, apply and reach out, let them know that you have applied and you'd love to interview. If you are interested in a potential future career, you can always be intentional with your ask of the recruiter or the hiring manager. But utilize these templates as a starting point, like anything, like in AI, any kind of template you see, those are the starting points. So the free version that it offers is a great kind of starting point. Definitely edit and apply it to the role that you're looking to hopefully take on in your next part of your career. But if you are going to be reaching out to a recruiter or anyone who is hiring for a role, be intentional with your reach out and keep it short and condensed. No one wants to read a novel. We only have so much time in the day. So just keep it brief and make sure your call to action is intentional of what you want from them. So if you want them to schedule an interview, if you want them to read your resume, if you want to do something, let them know your ask of them. And then it takes some time for people to read messages, so they likely won't respond within that specific hour or maybe even the day. But give it time and move on to the next role and next person to reach out to.
Well said. The other thing you can do in here, if you do need to follow up with someone about the status of an application, you can add a follow-up date, and then from there you'll get an email notification to your day of reminding you to follow up. So not necessary to keep all of that information in your head all the time. That is a lot. So let's kind of pause there while we're in the applied stage before we move into any of these other, interviewing, negotiating, accepting. We generally recommend following up once a week for 3 weeks or so if you're not hearing back about your application. And then at that point, you can consider it closed. There's a chance it may resurface, but just kind of best to keep your tracker as clean as possible and focus on the priorities that are ahead of you. So let's talk about what to do if you find a job that you're excited about, you're ready to apply, you're ready to create your resume. I feel like there's this tendency to want to put everything you have ever done in your life onto your resume so that the employer can see how well-rounded you are, how capable you are, how resourceful you are. It's all that is great in theory. However, it's hard. It's a part of your identity. It's part of who you are. It's hard to think, you don't want to take these things out because they make you you. And yet a resume is a sales document and not a history document. So it is your responsibility to sort of present the best, clearest version of yourself to the hiring team so that when they look at it, they understand and can connect the dots straight away and say, oh, that is the person that we want to speak to about this role because they have the skill set required to do this exact job description. So you're essentially taking this advertisement from the company and you are answering their ad with like, hey, here's how I can achieve XYZ and bring all of this value to your company. So generally we recommend starting with a job description instead of just your resume. We also love to create what's called a base resume so that you have one key core version that has literally everything you've ever done. All of your accomplishments, all of your achievements, all of your wins, all of your metrics. And then from there, when it comes time to tailor that to a specific role, you can just toggle things on and off as needed right within Teal without having to reinvent the wheel every time. Leah, anything you want to add on that front?
Yeah, 100%. Going back to kind of talking about this is your sales pitch and not a history, wanted to showcase a sample of what we mean when we're saying show the 10% of you that's 100% relevant for the job. So we recently had a job opening for an influencer marketing manager. We were specifically looking for someone who's worked with influencer and influencer partnerships. And we'll receive tons of applications that mention nothing about influencer management or partnerships, anything in that realm. That's specifically what it is we're looking for. So any company opens a job to solve a problem, and the clues to identify what that problem is will be in the job description. So if someone's looking for an influencer marketing manager, where in your past work experience have you at all done anything relevant to influencer partnerships or something in that realm? It doesn't need to be word for word, you've done this, point A to point B, but where can you identify in your past work experience something that is relevant? And you'll find those clues within the job description under, on this one, it says, here's what you'll get to do. It'll say job description or job requirements. It's typically above kind of the basic qualifications for a role. You'll see different job descriptions will say different things. Some may be more vague than others, but every role is open to help identify or solve a problem to move the product forward. So you'll see that in the job description itself, and that will give you the clues to tailor your resume. And when we talk about creating your base resume, start there, spend all the time and effort. If it takes an hour, spend an hour on that, because when you're ready to tailor your resume for specific jobs, that should only take just a few minutes, and will help definitely streamline the process going forward.
And one of the other tricks we like to recommend is going through the basic qualifications and saying, do I have this? Like, turn this bullet point into a question mark. Do I have a bachelor's degree or higher? Yes. Do I have 8+ years of experience in product marketing? Yes. Do I have 5+ years of experience in lead and pipeline management? Yes. So if you check those basic qualifications, that's great. Another question we get asked often is, like, you get a lot of advice out there about just shoot your shot. You don't have to be 100% qualified for the job you're applying for. You should apply for things that are a stretch. You should, don't worry about being 100% match. I think, and Leah can definitely speak to this with more experience on the recruiting side, but I think from my understanding, it's very much a matter of size and stage of the company and what the expectations are. At a lot of small startups, it's a little more flexible. There's, not necessarily going to be that same level of like, these are the absolute must-haves. Whereas at a larger company, I know Leah was recruiting at Amazon, those basic qualifications are like legally required basic qualifications. And if someone doesn't meet those basic qualifications, they're not eligible for the role, no matter how talented they may be. So it's not about you not being able to learn or not being able to have transferable skills. It's more about they are legally required to hire someone with this baseline. And if any of that criteria changes, they have to take down the JD, relist it, is my understanding. Feel free to hop in here if you have other thoughts.
When we talk about the compliance, it's called the OFCCP. That is the Office of Federal Contractor Compliance Programs. This is to protect and ensure that we're hiring equally and fairly for everyone. So when you see basic qualifications and preferred qualifications, a lot of what's happening before the role is even posted is leadership or the hiring manager, or the recruiter, whoever gets together when they're talking workforce planning, is identifying the need for this role, what they're going to be doing, what does potential growth look like in this role, and really go to what is the bare minimum that we're looking for. So for this specific role, they're looking for someone with 8 years of experience. So I'm going to put my hat on and think, they're probably not looking for someone who is entry level or needs to be taught how to utilize these programs. They're looking for someone who can step in day one and lead product marketing, whatever it is the team is needing. So a lot of what's happening in those prior conversations, especially when a role is open, is a hiring manager and recruiter will sit down and have an intake meeting, which discusses who is your ideal candidate for this role. If there was a specific profile, is there a specific profile? Is there a specific need that you're looking for? And then start from there. The basic qualifications are going to be the base level, which means that is the minimum that you want someone going in. If you have a minimum requirement of 5 years of experience, but I bring to you as a candidate who has 4 years of experience, are you going to say no to that? If you are going to say yes to that, then we have to lower the minimum qualifications. So it's a little bit of a dance between the recruiter and the workforce planning, whether it's the hiring manager or leadership, on what is the very bare minimum that you want for this role. Then when we're talking preferred qualifications, this is, I'd love someone who maybe has a few years of experience. I'd really love someone who has SaaS and marketing experience. But if they don't have that, that is okay. That would be my gold mine person. So that means anyone who's applying to the role may come with a wealth of experience, whether or not they have that SaaS experience or not. So keep in mind when you are looking at the job description, there is a baseline and then there's a preferred line. Now, typically recruiters are going to be looking for someone who's base and up. If you've got tons and tons of experience, that's great too. Go ahead and apply. But if you don't meet the preferred qualifications, but you do have all the basic, definitely go ahead and apply. Again, it's definitely dependent on the company, if they're OFCCP compliant, but especially in this current market, target the roles that you are qualified for, because if you're going to shoot your shot, then you can't get upset if you get rejected for the role, because there are likely going to be tons of people who are qualified. So really fine tune who you are at your core and how you can articulate that as best as possible in your resume.
So well said. And I think that's a really hard part of job searching too, is just remembering that it's not a binary decision about like yes or no. You're in this, it's not a vacuum. You're in this space where you're kind of all these shades of gray compared against all these other candidates. And that's exhausting and frustrating. And it's not fun. So like, we want to try to make it as, as pain-free as possible, but there is no like magic wand to making it. It's hard to not take any of this personally, I think. Alrighty, let's move on to creating our base resume. So let me just rename this one. We'll call this base resume. And then you have a few options here. If you want to import an existing resume, you can. There may be a little bit of formatting that you need to do as you import it for the first time, but once it's in, it should be in. So a little more of a time investment. I'm going to pull up, we have a Teal member, Tina Miller. We use her profile for demos. So I'm actually, instead of importing my resume, I'm just going to import Tina's LinkedIn profile because it's quick and easy and will speed things up. So once Tina's basic information is in here, it gives a really good starting point. There's still some areas that are missing, but at least it is, the initial first step. So first, we want to make sure that we fill out all of the contact information. These days we recommend really not putting a street address. We'll just go with city and state. Say she's in Miami. Oh, wow. It would help if I put that there, Miami, and then we'll put Florida here. And then website, let's say it's tinamiller.com. Cool. Now, that information will all appear. Then let's say we want to add, let's keep the base resume simple for now. Alrighty. So now what we're going to do is, let's say we want to go ahead and apply for that role that we were just talking about at Boeing. I'm going to, excuse me, sorry, sneeze. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate the base resume. And now let's call this the Boeing resume. And then what we'll do is we have a few options here on the right-hand side. We have guidance mode, which walks you through every step of the resume. Every time you go to add something, it'll walk you through what to put. So as you're adding work experience, what to consider, as you're adding education experience or publications or skills. So you can have this built-in sort of companion to your job search on the right-hand side. And then we have a resume analysis mode that shows you the core issues of structural things about your resume that we recommend. These, I would say, kind of take with a grain of salt. We're working on some new inputs here that will help give you more options and more control over to what extent you want to follow this built-in guidance. But it is healthy to have a sense of like, oh, I have too many achievements, not enough achievements. I'm missing a metric. I'm missing a target title. This can just sort of keep you on track. And you'll get the basic issues with Teal and then advanced issues with Teal Plus. This is where the magic happens, I think. So when you go to matching mode, you can search the jobs in your tracker. And in this case, we want this product marketing manager role. And what it'll do is it'll show you side by side which keywords you already have somewhere in your resume and which ones you don't yet have. So let's say product marketing. Where do I have that highlighted? Not seeing that highlighted. Just marketing in general. We have lots of instances of marketing in general. Okay, but now how about words like pipeline or pipeline management? Let's go ahead and say, okay, I did have experience with pipeline management in my role as senior marketing manager at WeWork. I want to add an achievement. So you can do a couple of things here. One, we can, if we want to be really specific about wanting to use the word pipeline management, I like using guidance mode. It's not AI, but you can basically, it's almost like Mad Libs for your career. I don't know if anyone's ever played Mad Libs here, but you can either choose from this dropdown or you can type in your own answer. So let's say in this case, grew pipeline management. This is not an actual achievement that makes sense right now, I'm realizing. Through pipeline management, let's say by 25% in 1 year. And then you always want some sort of so what statement or resulting in that connects your action to your strategy. So let's say like resulting in a 40% increase in leads. Now I'm going to save this to my resume. And now let's go back to matching mode. And we'll see here that now pipeline and pipeline management are both in green. We have the green box. And so therefore the match score goes up to 17%. If I deselect this, it will go back down to 12. So I'm going to make sure it's selected. You can also add an achievement using AI. So in this case, these are definitely meant to be suggested starting places and not full resume achievements. AI doesn't know you. They don't know your personal work history and what you've done, but they can help create a targeted achievement that would be relevant and aligned with the role you're applying for. So at least showing you like where these metrics could go, what keywords would be beneficial to be included, etc. And with the free version of Teal, you get 5 resume achievements, and then you can have unlimited with Teal Plus. Similarly, you can add professional summaries using AI. You can generate, and then again, this is like a good starting place. You want to make sure that you are editing this. We definitely don't want to encourage lying by any means, but it does give you something to work off of. I know there were some questions in the comments about cover letters as well, so I do want to try to touch on that. One thing, Leah, I know we also want to talk about sort of what it means to tailor. Do you maybe want to take a look in Teal Plus and see if we can like tailor this resume a little bit further after we touch on the cover letters?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, awesome. So for cover letters, what you can do, well, quickly, I'll just touch on formatting mode since it's right here. We do have a few templates to choose from, and you can change things like the font. I know people are probably going to yell at me in the comments for using Times New Roman, so I'm gonna switch that. You can change your accent color. You can change your margins. One of our favorite questions is around like, will this resume template get me past the ATS? And there is no such thing. So Leah, do you maybe want to touch on like the why behind these templates and why getting past the ATS is not a thing?
Absolutely. So if you go into your Google search results right now and you hit resume template, you're going to see lots of colors, lots of columns, lots of graphics on there. Those are all created by people who've never hired or worked within these systems. So what these systems essentially are is you send your application into the system, and on the back end, it's creating a profile for you. It's pulling the words and keywords. It's not assessing you, but it's pulling the keywords and creating a profile that'll go into like a virtual filing cabinet. So that way, when someone is opening your profile or your application, we can see who you are, all your contact info. Some applications will parse, which means pull each work experience. But it's essentially, it's a profile. We at Teal use Greenhouse. So due to personal details, we can't show you physically right now what it looks like. But what it looks like is it's your name, your contact info, all the roles that you have applied for, and then your resume is a attachment or a document. But it is also searchable. So if I were to go into Greenhouse and look for John Doe, who is a software engineer, and I want someone who has Ruby on Rails experience, I can, in the applicant tracking system, look up software engineer Ruby on Rails. And then your application or your name pops up as one of the many. So this is the same thing that happens with ATS like Lever, similar to Workday, Greenhouse, all these main ones that you're seeing. When you're hearing that an ATS is rejecting you, unless the company has specifically created their own individualized applicant tracking system that has the capability to scan your resume and based on the requirements automatically reject you, that is not the case in what's happening. Why we have these base formatting and why it is so limited is because we are focusing more on the content and the words rather than an intricate, colorful, graphic lined resume, because that is not what the hiring teams are going to be looking for. Even if you're a designer or your role includes you to be in a creative field, we still need to know who you are, what you've done, and how you've achieved that on your resume here. So what Teal has done is scaled down and simplified everything into, we've got 4 main format options. You can change the margins, you can change the order in which you want to highlight it. If you're entry level, you may want to put your graduation and your education up at the top. If you are a little bit more experienced, maybe you want to put the education at the bottom. So you can definitely customize that as well through Teal. We are working on some really great features for some more customized. People are asking for creative templates. So we're working on those actually right now to bring out and get ready for everyone to have. But my best advice as a recruiter and someone who reads resumes is focus on the content rather than the formatting. That is what is going to be the heart and soul of your application and is what the hiring teams are going to be viewing in order to determine if you're qualified for this specific role, another role, or just in general.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was wonderfully put, per usual. I think what I'm going to do is toggle over to a Teal Plus version of an account, just so folks can get a look at what Teal Plus looks like on the back end. We don't have the same demo job that we were just looking at Boeing, but I think that's okay. We will just pull something from my past experience and make it work. All right, so let's say we're in the resume builder, and let's say we want to work on this resume. I'm going to call this Light Dance resume. And this is all old information. This is demo. So we're going to want, let's say, Leah. And then I'm going to put my Teal info. I'm not going to do that. And then I'll do Denver. All righty. So now let's say I'm editing something here and I realize, oh my gosh, wait, I want to update this on all my resumes. Like, I don't want to have to go in individually and do all of them one by one. I'm going to just toggle this box. It says save to all resumes. Let's hit save and it will update on all my resumes. So now let's say I'm looking at this Scholastic resume, everything here is now up to date. Let's say I catch a typo. Or let's say I'm short on time. It's like a wonderful shortcut to not have to go back and individually do everything. However, let's say for my Scholastic resume, I want to link to my portfolio, portfolio.com. And let's say it's a very specific website. And then I'm applying for a different job. It'll give me this little symbol here that says update available, and I can see what's changed. And in this case, I may not want to include that same portfolio link to my resume. I may want that to just be one edit that I made to Scholastic resume, and I'm going to just choose to not implement that change. So you have a little more control over which information appears on all your resumes, which information just appears on certain resumes. So let's head back to matching mode. And Leah, do you want to talk us through, like, hypothetically, if I wanted to try to tailor my resume a little bit, what would you recommend that I do?
So I definitely start with the job description itself. Take a quick moment just to read it all over and understand what it is they're looking for. It's clear they're looking for someone who is head of brand and marketing. This also gives a little bit of clues on ideas that you can possibly bring up for interview questions. But again, we're going to look at the basic responsibilities. And I love this advice that we've given in the past of turning the responsibility into a question. So let's start with the first one. They're looking for someone to lead the brand strategy and planning to improve brand awareness, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to ask myself, have I ever in my past work experience led brand strategy and planning to improve brand awareness? Where in my resume or in my past experience have I done that? So if you've already got something along those lines, it's okay if it's not word for word, but if it's something similar, definitely go ahead and toggle on that achievement. Otherwise, go ahead and create something that is going to be what it is they're looking for. They want someone to lead brand strategy for their head of brand and marketing. So identifying that on your resume. Now, the next one, identify key opportunities and challenges to grow, ideate, comprehensive go-to-market strategy, et cetera, et cetera. I don't want to read all that for the sake of time. So then I'm going to ask myself, have I ever in my past work experience, is it already on my resume? Have I done that? Great. Definitely want to showcase and highlight that. You can also move it up onto your list of job responsibilities that you've done if it's something that you want it to be the first one that they're going to look at. And just kind of go through the job responsibilities. You don't need to have everything word for word and only that on there, but these are going to be kind of what it is that they're looking for and how you can showcase what you've done that is relevant for the role. The basic qualifications really tend to be a lot more like, do I have the years of experience? But it's saying that they want someone with strong strategic thinking or maybe specific knowledge with a certain program. So you're definitely going to want to highlight that as well on your resume. If you have that experience, if you know that program, showcase it on there. If it is not relevant to that role, take it off. You can easily just toggle it on and off with the Teal resume builder right there.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. I'm just going to check the comments to see if there were questions about this. There is a question about how close should you get to 100%. Yes, Mary, you raise a great call. You definitely don't want to just copy paste every single thing that's in the job description. But you want to make sure that of the things that the company is calling out as important, that you are explaining the how that you've achieved in your past roles and how that ties in to the company's goals. So for instance, if you have, it's less about getting this specific number up and more about showing the impact that you had. I think a lot of times there's a tendency for us to be inclined to restate everything we did in our last role, to relist all of the responsibilities. But what sets your resume apart is the how you did it, or the strategy, or the impact that you had in the results that you were able to achieve. So really, calling out the skills, but in a way that showcases the how is sort of the sweet spot. The score is available for everybody in both the free version and Teal Plus. We generally try to recommend getting as close to 70% as possible. That said, it's not a deal breaker if it's not. And I will give the caveat that sometimes, AI is not perfect. We do our best on the back end, and we're working on some AI improvements as we speak, but sometimes there will be a slight difference if you use the word curious and the job description uses the word curiosity. They won't necessarily pick up on verb tenses in the exact way. So I'd say it's less about the exact match score and more of, are you including the most important things that the company is looking for in your resume?
One thing I also wanted to highlight and kind of echo on here is any application, any system that uses AI should not be used as this is the final answer. So our matching score is a suggestion and it's a starting point. I did see in the comments, someone said the top score that they've gotten is 45%. This is especially true if maybe you are transitioning. I know when I made a career pivot, I'm sure my resume and the job description were not 80% or more. It's about just getting as close as you can. At the end of the day, you are the person sending the submit button on your application. So are you happy and comfortable with the content that is on your resume? If you're not happy with it, go back to the drawing board, see where you can edit and improve. This is just a suggested match score. If you don't want to look at the match score, you don't have to. You can scroll down below or click on something else. But again, using this as a baseline or a suggestion is something that we suggest for anything that uses AI. Another note I saw in the comments is that if you're just having to regurgitate the information, could that be a red flag? I see this happening all the time, especially on LinkedIn, people saying, if my resume is all in AI, does it read that I'm a human or am I going to get rejected? Anytime you see anything with AI, whether using ChatGPT, whether using Claude, with whatever AI system you're using, that is a starting point. Never underestimate the value of your own human intelligence. You know your experience more than an AI will, so use that as a baseline. So like for our AI generator, those are using examples from your work experience or in the job description to help kind of identify a potential solution to offer for you. But edit and tailor it to what is relevant towards your role. Again, you are the one hitting send on the application. So we want to make sure that you are reflecting who you are as a job applicant and a candidate that is experienced for this specific role. Hope that helps.
Super, thank you. And to that point, we believe in the same for the cover letter as well. So there is the AI cover letter generator. With the free version of Teal, you get one cover letter and then you get unlimited with Teal Plus. We also have a lot of resources on our website for how to use ChatGPT and Bard to create cover letters and to help improve your resume. So if you're interested in going that direction instead, definitely recommend checking out our career hub. But what we can do with the cover letter is they will tailor one. I may have too much information selected on the left-hand side. So let's see. Sometimes we'll get an error message if there's too much messaging selected, but they'll take a look at your experience that's in your resume. They'll take a look at the job description and then pair them together to create a cover letter. A lot of folks will ask, is a cover letter even still necessary? Oh, yep, I chose too much text. Sorry, that wasn't a great example. I'm going to deselect some experience here as I talk. So I think in terms of cover letter necessity, if it doesn't require one, you don't have to submit one. That said, as a hiring manager, I really appreciate them. I just think that they show an added level of interest, even if it's AI generated and then you supplement and make it your own. I think that there's something really lovely about people who take the extra time to put some thought into the why they want to work at a particular company. That said, I don't think they're a great use of your time as a job seeker from scratch, starting over and over. No one's asking you to write fan fiction about, we get it. It's kind of ridiculous, especially in 2023. Obviously my objective is to get a job because I need to put food on the table, but also here's a love letter about why I love your product. So I just sort of feel like if AI can help you get a starting point, at least for me, I'm much faster at editing something than I am writing from scratch from a blank page. So if I have this as my foundation, I can then go in and tweak it, edit it as needed. Perhaps there are certain things I may want to call out that AI doesn't realize I want to call out, and that will be the case. But for me, I'd rather have this as a starting point than have to reinvent the wheel each time.
One thing I do want to point out about cover letters, because I know we got a question earlier about customizing cover letters, and Leah definitely echoed she loves to read them. As a recruiter, my sentiments are if it's requiring a cover letter, chances are the recruiting team is going to read them. Why someone may ask for a cover letter is asking for a little bit more information that may not necessarily be on your resume. It's kind of like a stepping stone to an interview, if you will. The resume states who you are and what you've done, and the cover letter should hopefully maybe clarify like a little bit more highlighted, extensive version. So if you are going to be creating a cover letter, I love the simplicity and how brief and short that this one just generated on the shared screen here, but keep it brief and to the point. If it's already on your resume, you don't need to create a cover letter basically explaining the same thing. And if you are going to create a cover letter, be intentional with your words and what it is your call to action of them. You're writing to you're writing to show interest in a role, and you're explaining why your candidacy makes you most qualified. So definitely highlight that in there and keep it brief and to the point. But if you don't need a cover letter, you don't need to add it unless it is required. But as a recruiter, if it's included, I will read them.
I sort of feel like it's the same sentiment as, if candidates are going to take all this time to apply, the least we can do is respond to the application, even if it's a rejection, to just let them know that their application's been seen and received. And, I know none of us likes the abyss of just like crickets. But at the same time, I don't know if someone's going to take the effort to write it. I want to take the effort to read it. And yet I know we're in a lucky place to be able to say that, where the volume of applicants we get on a role may be, 200 people or 500 people. And we're not in a situation where it's 10,000 applicants for a single position. So I definitely speak about this from the perspective of like a hiring manager at an early stage startup where I have the luxury of being hands-on in the tools and seeing the resume, and not someone who's recruiting at volume for a large company.
Yeah, and one thing to keep in mind, when you do see a job description and you see requirements, whether it's a shorthand or long form answers or cover letter that is required, those are manually inputted. So in Greenhouse or Lever, just as some sample applicant tracking systems to call out, when you're creating a job description, it identifies what it is that you want to highlight. So if a company is asking for a shorthand answer of why do you want to work at X company, they're specifically wanting to know that answer. Maybe they're looking for someone who really is mission aligned and wants to work for that company. So if you don't want to apply to a company that requires a cover letter, that is completely up to you if you don't want to. However, as I've seen many applications before, I've seen companies require a cover letter and then someone upload a blank doc that says, please see my resume. You are basically kind of self-eliminating yourself because the teams are being intentional with their asks. So if they are asking for you to describe why you want to work for a company, or how many years of experience do you have with this, can you talk about that? They're being intentional with their ask, and they're really looking for someone specifically who can identify or who's taking the time to really think about their candidacy for the company.
Awesome, thank you. And for anyone who is late joining, I saw some questions in the comments section. We are recording this session. It will be slightly edited and up on our YouTube channel, either later this evening or tomorrow. But we definitely encourage you to check out the Teal Teal YouTube, also LinkedIn. But there's a whole playlist on YouTube of these Jumpstart Your Job Search sessions. So if you want to watch it at a slightly slower speed, or go back or take notes or do it in real time with us side by side, that's great. There are some episodes from Dave, our founder and CEO, and he does a really lovely job of walking through each step of the process. So you could supplement this with one of his. And that's me, thinking that everyone wants to just sit and watch Teal content all the time. So thank you in advance for watching, and we hope that it's helpful. And we are always open to feedback about what would be valuable in these sessions go forward. We do plan to do them for at least the next couple of weeks to help people really feel like they're heading into the fall in a strong place of feeling excited and confident and comfortable. I know it's 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Eastern, so we are wrapping up the end of our session. One more quick question. Nick, if you want to DM us about a hybrid resume, or if you want to just send us a note to hello@tealhq.com, happy to walk you through as best we can after this. We do have the ability to rearrange the skills section and the experience section. And there's some new additions that just rolled out in the skills section. So I think that should be totally fine and feasible. Thank you all so much for joining. And Leah, thank you for all of your wisdom and teaching us the ways from a recruiter's point of view. So appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be on next week with our CEO and founder, Dave Fano, to kind of talk through the Teal platform and give some great advice there. We've got great updates happening. We send out new updates for the platform weekly. We take your member feedback seriously and incorporate those for additions. We just rolled out a new update to our skills section, I think the end of last week, or maybe even today. It's brand new, so that you can reorder and highlight hard skills, soft skills, and click on and off them. So we really appreciate your feedback. That's how we better the platform for you as the user. It's created with you in mind. If you do have any questions, please send us an email at hello@tealhq.com. If you have any issues, require support, or need advice, please send an email to membersupport@tealhq.com. You can also head over to our support center, which is on the left-hand side of the screen, the little cap and gown. There's a lot of frequently asked questions that we kind of list a walkthrough with screenshots and kind of identify common questions. So definitely check that out before sending an email. A lot of the questions are similar. Again, follow us on YouTube. We're at TealHQ. All of our present and past webinars will be all on there. They're all linked in a Jumpstart Your Job Search playlist there. We've got tips on ChatGPT and AI, Teal tutorials where we literally walk through each specific aspect of the Teal resume builder, the job tracker, everything for you. So definitely check those out. Follow us on LinkedIn if you've got any questions. We have lots of great webinars and lives coming up shortly. So thank you all so much for your time, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you, everyone. Good luck with your search. Bye.
Bye.